Without an iota of rationality, the former deputy president, Geoffrey Rigathi Gachagua, has kept on making mistakes and more enemies as we approach the 2027 general election through his emotional utterances. Listen, it is within his emotional configurations that he completely burnt down all the bridges that were supposed to be linking him to the son of Jomo, the former president Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, and the earlier Geoffrey Rigathi Gachagua stops being controlled by his emotions, but rather decides to make logical decisions, the better for him, as he will automatically upgrade his cadre to Kenyans so that they can see him fit to unseat President William Samoei Ruto. We all saw him recently counseling a musician who, in his own wisdom, chose not to sing in Rigathi's tune. And in an emotional perspective, the former deputy president could be enjoying the latitude of his emotional utterances. And from where I sit, I honestly don't blame him at all. And why do I say so? It is due to the simple reason that we Kenyans must accept the brutal reality that we Kenyans are emotional in nature. And so Gachagua is. And I'm saying this with all due honesty and respect, because had we not been emotional in nature, then I kid you not, if you historically, history dictates that times above numbers, millions of Kenyans have been voting their leaders based on emotions and never based on their logical conclusion. Because if you remember pretty well, let us just take, for example, in the 2013 general election, whereby the former president Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and the current president, President William Samoei Ruto, had a case at the ICC. But guess what? Millions of Kenyans came out in large numbers to vote the two charlatans into office, and they voted overwhelmingly, going to an extent of them beating the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga in that election. And guess what? They automatically emerged the victors. So you can imagine, despite them having cases by then at the ICC, but Kenyans saw it fit to emotionally vote for them in a bid of saving them from their criminality at the ICC. My fellow Kenyan, yourself, myself, and millions of others must admit and accept the brutal reality that we Kenyans are generally emotional and very good at making emotional decisions. And with that at hand, when I see millions of Kenyans pointing fingers at Gachagua just because he makes emotional decisions, then I kid you not, I honestly fail to understand why we are all emotional in nature, but when it reaches to the former deputy president, that is exactly where Kenyans draw a very big line. However, having studied Gachagua's strategy and painstakingly having listened to what he has been uttering times above numbers to his supporters in this episode, I can tell you without any fear of contradiction that Geoffrey Rigathi Gachagua utters all these emotional utterances just because he knows pretty well that that is exactly what millions of his supporters want to hear. And if that is also something to be taken into consideration, then I kid you not, maybe he uses his emotional utterances to enhance the grip he has with his supporters. And maybe he himself is very much far from being one. And as I've been stating it times above numbers, that millions of Kenyans up to date fail to understand that we making decisions based on emotions is usually an automatic recipe for disaster. And in this context, same applies not only to the former deputy president, but also to the millions of Kenyans who in the next general election are likely to vote based on emotions in a bid of punishing President William Samoei Ruto. And when push comes to shove, I kid you not, if we are going to vote based on emotions, we are likely to suffer in the next 5-year tenure, depending on who Kenyans are likely to put in office. How I wish that we should go to the next ballot with our conscious mindsets. And as I come to the penultimate part of this episode, that has just been my opinion. If by any chance you do have a contrary opinion to mine, you can as well. Just feel free to drop them in the comment section and I'll give them a right of reply. And by any chance, if you've been watching my videos and you've not subscribed, you can as well. Just consider hitting on the subscribe button. Thank you and may God bless you.